As if they don't have too much on their plates. The Kings of Combat Sports Podcast, John and Wade. They talk about the things they did that day. They'll analyze the work of Triple H. Rewind to SmackDown. 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 Rewind to SmackDown.
And here we are to talk about the 3-hour edition of SmackDown from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yes, we are.
What a show they took in. What an interesting show they got to sit through.
It was interesting, wasn't it?
Yes. It was interesting. Yeah, I'm afraid this is one of those where I really don't know what you're going to say about the final 10 minutes of the show. You're either going to love it or hate it. And I seriously, I don't know what your answer is going to be.
You know what? I'm about to sit cross-legged or on top of a ring post because maybe sitting cross-legged is a bit tougher at my old age these days, and I will let you know.
That's the main event, folks. Okay, Cena sitting and talking. Do you want to make mention of the fact that Collision Course is back? We can announce what's happening on Collision Course. You're going to get Kate from Montreal speaks live. John Cena in action on Saturday night after the show from Kent, Washington. What are they going to be recapping? Well, we know of a Tony Storm promo, and beyond that, just tune in and find out, okay?
You know, like on weeks like this, they should really just promote it as like a mystery vortex type of show. You have no idea what you're going to get. We're going to get just like a random pairing of like, you know, these sort of matches that tune in, you know, and get an interesting show.
Atlantis Jr. speaks.
Yes.
Atlantis Jr. burns his passport.
Ooh,
he moves to
Atlantis
the U.S.
Jr. addresses his enemies. Yeah.
Yeah.
I at the very least, I will be very interested to hear what Cena and Kid have to say about a lot of the news in the wrestling world beyond just what's on Collision. But I'll be interested in hearing what they have to say about Collision as well.
For those of you that are on the free YouTube channel, if you go XL at postwrestlingcafe.com, you can get the full edition of this particular edition of Rewind to SmackDown. We just went through the news, including Stephanie McMahon's interview with Nick Khan on her podcast, WWE promoting Bill Goldberg's final match in its advertising for Saturday night's main event, a tremendous number for Grand Slam Mexico. Cedric Alexander popping up at tonight's TNA tapings, the CMLL anniversary card, and a big deep dive into Collision tomorrow night and previewing all of the matches and segments coming to Kent, Washington. So all of that can be found postwrestlingcafe.com. We are live there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. And also book club dropping for our Double and Espresso members. It is up there now for everybody with Neil Flanagan and I going through Under the Black Hat by Jim Ross, which was his second book that he put out with Paul O'Brien back in 2020. I really enjoyed this, the many different areas that Neil and I tapped into, and there was more we could have gone into from this book. But some of the major themes are, you know, just what I would call like a toxic relationship with WWE, and by that, I mean Vince McMahon, and it really is all chronicled in this book by Jim Ross. Highs that he has with Vince, and a lot of lows too, and many of those lows that we saw play out on camera. When you compound all of the stories together, it really does paint this picture of the Vince McMahon Jim Ross dynamic. And I dusted off an interview I did with Jim Ross right when this book came out, and that is part of the show as well. So you can check out Book Club. Monthly release here for the Double and Espresso members. Way is halfway through the book.
Sure. Yes.
Sure. Yes. On to SmackDown.
Hey, also the Long and Winding Road
just
dropped today with W.H. Park and Brandon Thurston, a rare podcast of Brandon Thurston talking about professional wrestling. And he is somebody who, like, I almost get the sense like he's, you know, has really kind of shut the door on that part of his life. He was a very well respected independent wrestler in the northern New York area, but has this like wealth of knowledge clearly within him about the art of professional wrestling itself that he just kind of keeps locked up until W.H. Park makes the call And for the third time, we're getting Brandon Thurston talking about something from 80s, 90s All Japan Pro Wrestling. In this case, it was Kerry Von Erich defending the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Jumbo Tsuruta. So
his only title defense. Mm-hmm. Yes. So check that out. It's always great to hear WH and Brandon get together for the long and winding Royal Road. So that is up for everybody to check out. On to SmackDown we go. 10,629 tickets out per WrestleTix. On the broadcast, they announced 11,134 with a 1-week promotion of John Cena wrestling on television. Now, if this had been announced for Kent, Washington, would you have bought a ticket to go see John Cena wrestle? I mean, you'd have to, right? This could be the last time you could see John Cena wrestle in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Maybe the answer would be yes. Yeah, given all of those circumstances, yes.
And boy, were they going to give you a night to remember. LA Knight starts the show. He goes over all his problems with Seth Rollins, how he was screwed out of Money in the Bank, so he did the same to Bronson and Braun and the King of the Ring. And he calls out Seth. He knows that this is going to come down to the two of them. Heyman answers, no Seth tonight. And he says he's a big fan of LA Knight. He gives a yeah. And he said that it's time for him to get out of Grand Rapids or else something really bad is going to happen to you before the end of the night. Knight runs down Heyman as a grifter, a scammer who leeches off talent with buzz, sucks them dry, and then moves on. Seth is just the latest one. And Knight proposes fighting Paul Heyman tonight. And he'll even turn his back and give Paul the first shot, or I'll mollywop you, as he borrowed here from Anthony Bowens. And Heyman exits the ring, reiterates that something bad's going to happen. As Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed appear, they go after Knight, and Knight grabs a chair to fend them off. More to come, because we would get the announcement after the break that Nick Aldis has made LA Knight versus Bronson Reed for Hour 3.
I thought Knight sounded really good here. I mean, as usual, newsflash, right? But for somebody who, I mean, at this point really feels like he's being slotted into just, I would say, upper mid-card / like, I don't even know if you'd consider him a main eventer. Like, he seems like somebody who's just really bubbling on knocking on the door of, like, being a house show main eventer, I guess we want to say.
Is he kind of in a Mark Briscoe role?
I wouldn't say quite Mark Briscoe, because I think they're a bit more protective of Knight. Like, they aren't just like having him, lose to people, and you're kind of, like, he's a bit doing better than maybe Mark Briscoe. But I mean, he's got a similar vibe in that, like, he can always talk himself up there. I still get the sense that they do have bigger plans for LA Knight in the future, and I think that's contingent on whether or not the audience still wants to see it, whether or not, like, he could still stay hot enough for the people to want to see him advance to another level. And with these sort of, like, performances on the microphone, I would say the answer is yes. I think he's still, like, doing a great job of, like, commanding the crowd, and I think not just, like, sounding great, but I think, like, maybe even showing you, like, some new wrinkles here and there. Like, he's very good, and I think he's even maybe getting a little bit better, like, doing this sort of WWE style of promo. His confidence feels very strong. I would even say his in-ring at this point is maybe, yes, it's passable, but I would say it's beyond passable.
You could see, like, he works hard. I don't think he's ever going to be accused of being smooth, but I think, like, it's enough that it's. I agree. It's passable, a little above a passable.
Yes.
Alexa Bliss. Praise. I mean, that's. I'm not going to overstate the fact. I think it's.
Okay. In ring.
Do I want to see this guy in a 20 to 25 minute main event? I do not.
Okay. I was going to say, in ring, would you prefer an LA Knight or Jey Uso? Is he as good as Jey Uso in ring?
It's a good comparison level. I put him above Jey Uso. I don't think he does not have the closing, like, Jey Uso is kind of like, he gets by in a very undramatic way, but his matches do end with a lot of heat when he gets into the splashes and the spears. And I don't think Knight ever peaks that way for the end of his match. But I would say start to finish, if you're asking me, I would put Knight ahead of the overall package.
Yeah. They're both like, I think they
And they're both over. Like that's that's.
But I think Jay to me is a more compelling character because I think he's a much more sympathetic babyface. Knight is a very different type of babyface. He's just sort of like very overconfident and cocky, which is a very good type of babyface as well. But I'm curious to see if they could like give him a similar Jey Uso type of reign or push at some point.
Our first match is the first semifinal in the Queen of the Ring with Alexa Bliss taking on Asuka. And Bliss would isolate the arm, goes for a Sister Abigail, and that's countered with a roll-up. And Asuka misses with a missile drop kick as Bliss hits the DDT for a 2 count. She climbs to the top for the Twisted Bliss, but then she points at Asuka, hops down, and I don't know what was going on here, but
weird. Yeah.
She gets caught in an armbar, and then Asuka moves to a Fujiwara, goes for a cover, only gets a 2 count, and then on another corner, Bliss climbs up for Twisted Bliss, landing on the knees, and then Asuka hits the Empress Impact in 9:24, so she advances to Saudi Arabia and will face either Jade Cargill or Roxanne Perez. But yeah, there was just this awkward gap in the middle of this match where it did seem to be either she jumped the gun on the spot or where it was going to go.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on there. It just kind of disrupted the flow of the match just a little bit to the point where we could point to it as like maybe one of the only blemishes. And otherwise, I would say pretty good match. I thought Alexa looked decent. I can't necessarily say like she looks improved or anything. Like she's still coming off. Like she looks as fine as I think she ever has. I think Asuka looked very good, high intensity as you would usually expect. Though it still feels like her first singles match back. We're probably only still scratching the surface of what we expect her to be capable of in a match like this.
Yeah, and two very different matches to expect based on who comes out of the Raw semifinal. Jade is with BFAB and Meechin, and BFAB and Meechin said they have to go talk to Nick Aldis about those tag titles. So no mention here of anything about Liv Morgan or these tag titles that might be up for like maybe vacated, or I assume they'll address this on Raw. But
I wonder if they even know yet at this point.
I mean, she's going for surgery, so I mean it's but you did have just this offhand comment. We have to go talk about those tag titles. Saxton enters to interview Jade, and she says that Roxanne has potential, but I'm built for royalty, and I am the Storm, and this tournament is not built for the future. It's built for a woman who can walk through the fire and break glass ceilings. Sounded like something on a pamphlet.
Sounds like an X-Men. Well, Storm can't really do that. That's more of a walk through fire and break through glass ceilings. That's more of like the entire team, I think.
Well, she's all of them combined. She's got all of the traits.
The Omega level mutant. Yeah, she's sounding very good. Like Jade is very capable in these sort of interview settings. She obviously she looks the part. She sounds the part. She carries herself like she's a top star.
I think we're gonna have a very good read on where Jade is over this next week. I expect her to win this match on Raw, which should. I mean, you could probably have some interference in that match with Raquel or something like that. But the match with Asuka, like I think they have to go out and do like a bit of a lengthy match. And I think if we get both these matches with Jade over the next week, I think it will tell us like where is she in terms of progression and seeing her outside of a tag situation or one of these 4 ways.
Yeah. Do you have a prediction right now?
I see Jade winning this match, and I would
Roxanne.
say with Roxanne, yeah. And I think Jade has a very good shot of winning this whole thing.
Yeah. If Roxanne's destiny at this point, I think is probably filling in for Liv. Jade versus Asuka is a hard match to predict. It's a hard match to book, but there's always a way to out of it.
Think of the way that you could get to Naomi having the belt by SummerSlam, and that could be Jade going for the belt at SummerSlam. Like that's kind of a ready-made program. And then whatever, and Bianca in the mix too when she is cleared to return. So that would be my thought is Jade winning this. It was kind of how I thought from the beginning of this tournament. But
interesting.
We will see.
Jade versus Asuka. Okay.
Bliss walks backstage after her loss and meets the secret Hervis. Green says that she should have been Queen of the Ring. Bliss issues a challenge to her, but then Charlotte Flair walks in complaining how Elba Fire didn't tap out quick enough last week and therefore Flair was eliminated. And it leads to her challenging Chelsea tonight. And Bliss tells Charlotte, I don't need your help. Flair says, well, I wasn't here to help you.
This is a very unexpected direction that they're taking Charlotte in post Tiffany Stratton feud at WrestleMania. You know, like coming off of the Stratton program, I would argue, okay, no matter what you thought about the program, no matter what you thought about the match, I think you came out of it with Charlotte Flair being one of the hottest heels, if not the hottest heel in the women's division. This seems to be teasing some sort of reunion that I never knew. Like, I never knew they were really such good friends to begin with, but they're teasing, they're telling us like these sort of like, you know,
it's for all the people that read Charlotte Flair's book that came out 8-9 years ago.
Well, what does she say about Alexa?
I mean, she does talk about, you know, being friends with Alexa Bliss and stuff, but I don't know how many like just people
They're
know that
playing with
backstory.
this tension as if like we give a shit about like Alexa and Charlotte coming back together. I didn't know you guys were friends to begin
Where
with.
are the photos from a decade ago that they would have taken? Where are the photos of them in better times?
But they're just kind of doing this like teasing and of like, man, we like they're assuming we really want to see them become friends, and I'm like, okay, be friends. Like I could really care less.
Well, it's such a thriving tag division. I would love to see these two designated for the tag slots.
But it's just interesting because I mean the tone you get very much from this episode certainly is that they're pushing Charlotte at this point as a babyface. You know, she's opposing Chelsea Green. She's facing a 3-on-1 a disadvantage against the Secret Hervis. She's being paired with Alexa Bliss, and she's not really doing anything that's outwardly heelish. So to take Charlotte at this point into a babyface direction, I think almost kind of wastes entirely what they built up through the Stratton program.
Yeah, we'll talk about this match in a moment because I definitely had some confusion watching it. Kit Wilson is out there, and they do note the injury to Elton Prince. He has not been in action since that match that they had with Nathan Frazier and Axiom when, you know, Prince took, what was it, the 450, I think, from
who faced
Frazier.
Hikuleo? Who faced
It
Hikuleo
was
last
Kit
week?
Wilson last week.
Got it.
Yes. So Kit Wilson is just
a strong second week for Hikuleo.
amazing. Like, we always talk about how important follow-up is. And, man, you know, he got his one match in. We'll see you after Dominion 2026.
Yeah, see you next year. Yeah.
So Aleister Black is supposed to take on Kit Wilson. That should have been your tip-off that we weren't getting anything here. Ron Killings jumps Kit Wilson and puts him in the STF, reapplies it after calling out Cena, and the officials run down, and Jamie Noble is tasked with calming him. And backstage, Noble is with Ron Killings. He says he wants Cena, and he's going to kill him tonight, which I think is the only time we heard the word kill in regards to Ron on this whole show.
Oh,
because
they completely just like...
They called him R-Truth all night long, to the point that I don't think Ron Killings is a thing anymore, beyond his shirt.
I think they're like, so it was really strange. Okay, so he gets let go, comes back on WWE Shop as Ron Killings, and then at that point, at least from his mouth, it's I'm Ron Killings now. R-Truth is in the past. Ron Killings. Meanwhile, on commentary and then in the graphics, they continue to promote it as
Everything.
R-Truth. He's R-Truth. Some may call him Ron Killings. I'm looking for R-Truth. Have you seen Ron Killings? You know, like now it feels like we're ramping down the Ron Killings and we're just going back to R-Truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I made the conscious decision. Like this segment, I wrote down on my notes like Killings, and by the end of the night, I was just writing Truth. So I've made the rebrand myself.
Yeah, and I wonder what sort of like market testing they did to arrive to like that decision. Again, like I suspect whether or not it's just them wanting to promote their own IP rather than like the obvious play from Killings, you know, in wanting to promote his real name so that he could leave with the real name. Well,
There's a very weird deal going on with all of this. Yeah. So Aleister Black walks up and warns Killings not to get involved in any of his matches, and Damian Priest pops up as the Peacemaker, and one of two on this show, I guess, and tells Killings, you can't be doing this type of stuff. Focus your anger towards Cena, and then we can go downtown afterwards and celebrate. And boy, what a celebration they must have had after tonight's match. Lots to celebrate.
What is there to do at 12, like midnight in Grand Rapids, Michigan? Okay, I guess it's a college town, isn't it? Maybe there's
college is out, dude. It's like we're at the end of June. Okay.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, Grand Rapids. I don't know.
Maybe I'm thinking of Ann Arbor.
Maybe they went fishing. I don't know. Cody comes out
at midnight.
I don't know. I've never been to Grand Rapids. I might have driven through Grand Rapids once or twice.
Okay.
Cody arrives, but before he can speak, Jey Uso comes out for his entrance. They hug. Jey says how they've both been to the mountaintop, but there's only room for one of us after Monday. It's not personal, just business. And Cody goes to speak into his ear when Sami Zayn arrives. And Zayn says, there's only one of us who has never won the title. He says, I missed Mania this year, but I made sure I was in Vegas, Jey, to congratulate you when I won. And last year, Cody, I was the first guy out there to congratulate you for finishing your story. And then out to join them is Big Randall. He comes out. He says that there is no line he won't cross to beat Cody to get his 15th title. He respects Jey. Their families go way back. And one day, he says, Sammy, you will be world champion, but that day is not at SummerSlam. So this was remarkable in that Cody Rhodes was out here for like 10, 12 minutes and did not say a word.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting.
Maybe he had the same thing you do.
Maybe he has throat ulcers.
Maybe he had laryngitis or something.
Which I would feel really sorry to him about. Yeah. You know, I actually really like the segment. I mean, in a short amount of time, you got to, well, I say short because I skipped the Jey Uso entrance. If I'd watched the Jey Uso entrance, I think this segment would be double length. But I thought they gave us great introductions to each person, as well as the relationships to each participant here in the semis, right? Including brief mentions of a lot of their shared histories with one another. And it's compelling because at this point, all four characters have some sort of history with each other. You have Orton and Jey through their families, Orton and Cody obviously through Legacy. You got Jey and Cody, Sami and Jey, even Sami and Cody through WrestleMania 40. So I thought in a short amount of time, they did a great job giving you like essentially like a crash course into this sort of like web of, you know, histories.
It was a good setup, and you've got the dynamic of like the four baby faces here. And I think like you have a compelling final four here to make your arguments for any of the four that could all believably win this tournament. So that takes us to Zayn and Randy. Early on, Orton dropped Zayn twice on top of the desk. The third time, Zayn stops and fights back. And we see Orton go through the commercial break. He connects with the clotheslines, power slam, and a draping DDT and calls for the RKO. Sammy rolls to the floor. And as Randy goes after him, Sammy catches him and drops Randy on top of the desk. Orton then misses in the ring and runs shoulder first into the post, and there's a haluva, but Randy catches him with another power slam. Great timing on this. Zayn's haluva then misses on the next try, and his leg gets caught on the turnbuckle. He turns around, nearly gets hit with an RKO, but counters it with this blue thunder bomb for a huge near fall. Zayn comes off the top, misses a splash, blocks another RKO, and goes for one final haluva kick. And this time, Randy stops him mid-haluva and hits the RKO in 11 minutes and 29 seconds. I thought this match was excellent. This was the high point of the show for me. A really, really strong match that these two had.
Agreed. Great match. Yeah. I thought they did a great job setting up Sammy's motivations heading into this tournament before this match. So it made it very easy to get into a lot of these near falls because it was really actually a really tough to predict type of match. And the results I kind of saw coming after all the teasing of the Karrion Kross match and having Sami Zayn just be so overconfident of like this time being different. And Zayn, I think at this point we can realize is the type of character who just never really gets what he really wants, right? So and that's kind of what makes the character work. So I mean, this is the type of disappointment that should send him further into Karrion Kross's dark side. So I wonder if like Zayn even gets a match in Saudi.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the Cross match if anything, but I could also just see that being held off for television. So, Unless he does something on the Friday show, like we will go over. SmackDown will be in Saudi Arabia as well.
Does it lead you, like with Orton advancing, does it lead you to prefer, or at least think either Jay or Cody would be getting that one?
I think they're going with the biggest match possible. I think we do get Randy and Cody next weekend.
Yeah.
Nia comes out and states how Stratton approached me for me to take her under her wing last year, then betrayed me, and now she has my title. So Tiffany does not let this go unchallenged. She comes out and says, quote, "You're like that toxic ex I just can't get away from. Well, maybe I'm just better." And Jax wants her rematch, but this time one where Stratton doesn't use a chair. So Stratton says, well, it's going to happen next week, and I'm going to add more scars to your 5-head. And it's going to be a last woman standing match in Riyadh. Jax then attacks her, hits a pair of leg drops, and then Naomi runs down. The crowd's going wild that she's going to cash in, but Jax yanks her out of the ring. Stratton then drop kicks Naomi off the apron into Jax, and it's a thwarted cash in with Jax protecting her title match for next week. Stratton and Jax had like a very good television match a few weeks ago. The one where, Jax got all busted open from the chair. But a last woman standing match, like they will get a lot of time next week on this show because if you did not remember, this show is 3 hours, so I think they will get plenty of several segments for this match.
Right. Interesting. I think the last woman standing is, I mean, almost like the type of thing you would want to do to get an audience to think about a cash in, right? And I thought they gave you a solid setup for it, solid reminder for it here in that. But like, it's almost too obvious, you know, like it's too obvious after seeing like Gunther versus Jay. Gunther versus Jay is also, I think, like doing everything you can to set the stakes up against Jey Uso for a cash in, which they ended up not doing at all. So I almost predict something similar this week where we're supposed to be thinking, okay, last woman standing, Tiffany Stratton's going to be completely exhausted. We should be expecting a cash in, but I don't think we're going to get it. We'll probably get a tease this time.
Yeah, I guess it all depends. Like getting the belt onto Naomi, like I do think that's a way more interesting direction if Jade is winning this tournament. So you do have that, but it doesn't have to be done next Friday.
No.
Oh, I forgot about this. We had Yin and Yang. This was our extended video piece on John Cena and CM Punk, voiced by the voice of Lucha, Corey Graves.
Yes.
Raging against the system brought him adulation, but never enough to fill the hole deep within. His desire to sit alone atop the summit would lead to bitterness, resentment, self-destruction, and banishment. But time changes everything. Yes, Phil. Resentment, self-destruction, and now he was banished. He was banished from this company. I was not aware of that history.
So what's the story? Okay, if we're actually to dissect it. He left, and then did they release him?
They technically fired him, yes.
Right.
After he informed them, I am going home.
Left.
So, yeah. Yes, he was banished from the company.
And then he was banished from another company as well.
Yeah, he's been multiple banishings. I guess when you're banished elsewhere, your prior banishment expires.
Okay.
But then, Yin becomes Yang. Yang becomes Yin. In an infinite dance, struggling to find harmony, Punk returned from exile way on TBS, a beacon of hope and change, a new face for the company he once vowed to burn down. But now the balance has shifted. Light becomes shadow. Shadow now stands in the sun. These are the days of our lives.
Oh goodness, John. I don't know how to actually talk about this because I thought this was very good, but coming off of John Pollock's recap.
No, I'm sorry. There's sometimes
laugh.
I defer. I understand.
It sounds ridiculous when John.
Sometimes I overdo it and make things ridiculous. This was ridiculous if you listen to what was actually being said. I'm sorry. Someone just like chat GBT'd the hell out of this.
Buddy,
and the answer.
hold on.
Like, what was this?
Pro wrestling is ridiculous, and you need sometimes this sort of over-the-top voiceover in what I would suggest was a very David Sahadi style of video package in order to get you hyped, to get, like, if this was just a, hey, this guy fought this guy, and then he fought this guy, like, if it was just a bare facts type of rereading of their Wikipedias, it would be completely dull. You need
But no video packages are like that, though.
And this one stood out to me.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't think it was so. I thought it was very creative. I thought it was well done.
What did you think about like the characterization of Punk in this?
So interesting. We should note in the recap of the pipe bomb, the line, "You're a great ass kisser. You're great at kissing the ass of Vince McMahon." Vince McMahon's name was edited out. People did note that. The characterization of him as what, just the guy who like at one time was the rebel who was banished from this place. Now he's essentially the defender of the company. Yeah, like that is a story, isn't it? And I think we're supposed to be happy about that if you're a WWE fan, because I think you want to, you want the WWE to exist. I suppose they're just pointing out like the yin and yang of the scenario.
I'll have more on this when we get to the end of the show, because this is really just setting the table for our closing segment tonight.
Certainly, yeah.
Chelsea and Charlotte Flair. This was a really weird match. Green was out with her face mask, so this was her first match since breaking her nose on Saturday night's main event last month. Flair early on, Flair is working this match as the babyface, and it's Green as the heel. But I don't think the audience knew, like the audience was not getting behind Charlotte here. I don't think they knew how to react to this.
Well, you're also talking about, so in Charlotte you have somebody who I think the crowd wants to boo, but they're trying to push as a babyface, and in Chelsea you have the exact opposite. You have a heel technically who the audience really wants to cheer.
And then we get this spot, like it's Flair playing a babyface, which is just, it's kind of weird just from what she's been doing. And she does like these series of chops, does the kip up, and then does the Chelsea salute to the crowd. And they all boo her for this.
Oh,
which,
yeah, total heel.
What else could you have expected from this spot? So I didn't know how I'm supposed to be processing these characters in this match. Elba gets onto the apron several times. On the final one, she's booted down by Flair, who turns around and Chelsea hits a Rough Rider, takes off her mask, goes for the Unprettier, and then it's Flair stopping her, spears Chelsea, goes for the figure eight, but it's countered with a small package, and then finally she gets the figure eight. This thing wasn't even applied, and Chelsea was tapping out.
Oh my God.
Like,
before,
like, it's like the bell is in mid-ring as Piper Niven hits the senton onto Charlotte to break it.
And when Piper hit that senton, I was
because Flair's like arms are posted, and I was like, oh my God.
Her legs were there, and then like she just started immediately holding her leg, and I'm hoping that was just great selling, but because like I thought for sure she heard something, and
it was this was a very clunky.
Oh.
This was a clunky setup for these two, and the match itself, I just felt was very awkward at various points. I was watching this. I'm like, who made this match? Like, what a weird direction here that we are going with.
They have their heels on one side, they have their baby faces on one side, and usually for the most part, like Chelsea as a heel, despite how much the crowd actively like wants to cheer for her at various parts of the world, she still works as a heel. I think
this would have been way better of Charlotte against Piper or Charlotte against Elba.
Agreed.
Think, for what they were going for.
Agreed. Chelsea's just the bigger star, I guess. Maybe that's why they wanted to do it, but I don't know who asked for this like Charlotte Alexa reunion storyline. Like Hangman and Swerve, this is not. This is not a pairing with any sort of like significant history.
Give it some time. Give it till like next year when Mania hits.
I guess so. Yeah, I just think it's such an odd choice for the both of them.
They all beat down on Charlotte, and when you know it, Alexa appears. She hits Chelsea with Sister Abigail. Her and Flair clear the ring. They have an awkward look at one another, and Flair just storms by her. And I don't know if Alexa was like just mistimed this, because she doesn't get her hand out for the handshake till Charlotte has like blown past her. So it just it felt as though the hand was supposed to be out and Charlotte was going to like contemplate and then walk off, but just walked off anyway.
Man,
so she didn't even see the hand. It's like, why am I going to just stare at you into the night? We got a show to run here.
You know, I could be wrong. Maybe by the time they actually built to these two embracing in the middle of the ring, maybe it'll be like Savage and Elizabeth, and, you know, everybody will just, the arena will just go crazy.
Agreed.
Yeah, hard to see that right now.
Solo meets with JC Mateo, and JC's getting ready. He's just ready to like take out Jacob, and Solo says, no, I'm going out there alone. We need Jacob. I'm going to smooth things over, but just be ready. So Sikoa comes out by himself, and he asks Jacob to come out. And Solo Sikoa says, as clearly an avid listener of Wai Ting, Jordan Goodman, and Neil Flanagan, he says, Jacob, I love you. And he says that being the tribal chief, I've learned how to love my family members, and families fight, but then they move forward. And that's what we need to do. I saw potential in you when no one else did. I was able to give you a chance to change your life, and I did it because I love you. And Solo says, I don't have anybody else. You're all I have, and you're all I need. And you don't even have to say it to me. I'll say those 4 words. I love you, Jacob. And the crowd chants bullshit. This guy is... I thought Solo was actually really good in this segment. I thought he was very, very good. Like, in terms of like speaking roles, I thought this was one of his better ones. Fatu is just processing all of this, and then he gets to retort. He says, Sikoa, I think you've been using me to gain power, to fight your battles, and to stay tribal chief and bring yourself fame and gold. But maybe the problem between us is this. And he lays down the U.S. title. So why don't you fight me for it? And he goes to do his catchphrase, and then Solo goes for the Samoan spike and is caught by Jacob. And boom, JC runs in, attacking Jacob. Jimmy Uso runs down to protect Jacob. And we get Jimmy laid out as well. But Fatu rises from the dead, taking out both. And then we get the stare between Jacob Fatu and Jimmy. And we have got the tease of an alliance of the Fatusos.
Oh, Fatusos.
Yeah. So Jimmy has a purpose after Ron Killings ditched him.
He has a role now. Yeah, he's got something. You know, I thought it was an overall very good segment, I should say.
I thought Solo was really good in this segment.
It really showcased, I think, the new personality and range that Solo has developed over the past year. He has developed this new version of the character, and I thought it worked really well in this segment. But honestly, like, as good as he was, it's when Jacob speaks that I thought the segment started to feel really special. When Jacob speaks, it's captivating and it feels so natural. Whereas like it took guys like a Roman and Jay, really any pro wrestler, like it takes them like a lot of time to find their voice. I haven't watched this guy's stuff prior to the WWE, but he at the very least came into the WWE right into the main roster with such a fully formed just personality, you know, and that's just like unique to compared to anything else on this particular show. He just feels so naturally charismatic and just feels like a complete package right now. So, man, I continue to be so impressed by how good he is.
And backstage, Fatu does a promo, and it will be him and Solo at Night of Champions for the U.S. title.
Yeah.
So that's a big match for these two to go out there, and we will like. It's a big match, especially for Solo in like a singles setting here. Mm-hmm. Bronson Reed against LA Knight. Reed is awaiting him in the arena when Knight jumps him from behind, coming out through the crowd, and Reed would miss a splash and a senton early on, and then it's Knight with a reverse cross body off the middle rope to the floor as they set up the commercial. Knight's blunt force trauma gets stopped, and he gets goes for a power bomb, but Knight turns it into a DDT, and Braun Breaker, who is at ringside, gets knocked off the apron. Knight then runs the ropes, and boom, Braun appears and spears him. The DQ is called at 7:32. Reed then holds him up for a another spear by Braun, and then Reed proceeds to hit 1, 2, 3 tsunamis, and the only thing this was missing was Kenny Omega's projectile blood for LA Knight.
I would have made this.
It almost felt incomplete that this guy didn't have any internal bleeding by the end of this. I mean, he was just destroyed by the tsunamis and the spears by Braun and Braun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it wasn't a prediction. Oh, sorry, it wasn't a.
It wasn't a prediction.
It wasn't a prediction. It was a spoiler. That's right. Seems like this is all being built up to Knight versus Rollins. Where could you see Knight versus Rollins?
Saturday night's main event, I guess.
Not SummerSlam. You don't think?
Oh,
he should be laid out for this. Like Knight shouldn't come back. Certainly not next week.
I think he'll miss Saudi Arabia, and I think he'll be back the next week.
Yeah,
2
weeks.
That's my thought.
Yeah,
because and then I just can't see them holding off Rollins and Knight till SummerSlam. I guess it's I mean, maybe a small chance, but it would not surprise me if Rollins. You could actually do something where it's like you could do Rollins and Knight at Saturday night's main event. Knight somehow gets a win, and then you have Rollins leaving the show as champion as well, and you've set something up for down the road. There's a lot of interesting ways you can go, but I think all these scenarios, Rollins ends up with the title at some point in all of this. Yeah. So next week, Saudi Arabia, they have announced 3 title matches: Zelina Vega and Julia for the U.S. title, Street Profits against Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy for the tag belts. Oof. That one's
it was a rough one last week, and to just go to a title match off of that, I mean, they're a good act, they'll get a good reaction still, but they need to redeem themselves in ring with this one.
And then Tiffany and Nia, last woman standing for the women's title. That is all that's announced for next week. Dude, it was like 10:40 p.m. and Cena and Killings are coming out. I was like, there is not a hope in hell that this one is going anywhere close to this amount of time. And boy, was I right. Again, R-Truth, graphic R-Truth. Mark Nash introduces him as R-Truth. Like, that is all he is being referred to. Same with Tessitore and Barrett calling him. So Truth tackles Cena after the bell. They go to the floor. We come back from break, and Cena's going for the 5-knuckle shuffle, and Truth stops in AA. So Cena grabs the belt on the floor and goes to leave. So Truth chases him up the aisle and gets drilled with the belt, and they call for the bell in 5 minutes and 43 seconds, and poof goes R-Truth, your guy flirting with the main event. Like, this felt like the carpet just pulled underneath this guy. This sucked so much. Our second DQ in a row, and what a just absolutely disappointing TV match. Like, I wasn't expecting a miracle between these two, but my God, to just promote this for a week. I don't have the highest of bars when it comes to what you promise on TV, but my God, was this disappointing.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be possible to have a more nothing match than their last one at Saturday night's main event. I thought this was more of a nothing match.
Like
than
the least creative out to this match you could possibly think of. Like, there was just nothing to this.
Even the last one, I think, had maybe the novelty of seeing the comedy of, like, a really good R-Truth babyface comeback doing the Cena moves. This really had no drama attached to it whatsoever. And it was disappointing given just the entire thing around the R-Truth return saga and the incredible momentum they had building up. Well, we can at least say from the release all the way until even last week, which we thought, I think, would have culminated into something significant in this particular matchup. In the end, I feel like they successfully kind of like killed this R-Truth, like Ron Killings, like resurgence. Like, it doesn't feel like that it'll be that hot coming off of this. Maybe we can assume that a feud with Aleister Black is what they are going to be taking us to instead, with Ron Killings versus Aleister Black. And let's also, at this point, like, we have to just, I guess, be honest with the idea that R-Truth was never supposed to be part of their plans. He was somebody who was supposed to be released. The crowd really wanted him back, so they brought him back.
They brought him back to shut everyone up, and unless they have some miraculous follow-up here, I think they've extinguished what they like, that lightning in a bottle they had with this guy. Just going back to that promo he did, the promo where he cut off his hair to now, it just, I think this one did a ton of damage for Killings and just being slotted right back into just some mid-card role. He'll feud with Alistair, and the crowd is no longer chanting against our decisions.
I mean, we're entirely, just basing a lot off of just this particular segment. But I thought it was a big night for the Truth character. Sorry, Ron Killing's character, and didn't really leave me that impressed. I think there's room for them to do another match.
With Cena?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just given the non-result here, like I could potentially see it, but I'm not so sure. I was interested to see like what sort of difference there would be. He came out with the "What's Up" music, did not rap to it, and even that felt certainly odd. Not to say I wanted him to rap along to the song, but this entrance was so like void of any sort of interesting thing attached to it. It just felt like a plain guy walking out, slapping hands, and ultimately was pretty forgettable. In ring, he's like, certainly a lot more aggressive, but I would also say far less interesting as a professional wrestler. So like, I know that like he probably wants to push himself as a serious wrestler, but there probably still needs to be a lot more that needs to be at the very least interesting about him being a serious wrestler that we didn't get to see in the Cena match.
The best thing I will say is that his name does lead to a lot of creative ideas. My article that I wrote was Truth or Consequences, why the WWE brought back Ron Killings. Well, I think my follow-up will be Killings in the name of what happens when fans rage against the machine.
I love it. Love it, John.
This was terrible. But we had more. Dude, it was like 10:46 p.m. I was like, what in God's name are they going to do to run out the clock here? CM Punk comes out. Thankfully, they had Punk on standby here. He comes out to attack Cena, and he takes the belt away from Cena. Cena kicks him in the balls and hits him with the belt. And then out comes the table. And I'm still looking at this. I'm like, it's 10:48 p.m. They cannot do physicality with John. They can't do a match this long with John Cena. How are they going to get to 11 p.m.? He hits Punk with a second belt shot, and then the most deadly AA of all time as he puts CM Punk through this table at 10:48 p.m. And CM Punk would lay in this position paralyzed for the next 12 minutes as John Cena would recreate the pipe bomb. And
yeah, so very interesting to note. The match that took place right before the pipe bomb was John Cena versus R-Truth. So maybe that was...
Is that the whole reason they booked this match?
It could have been. It could have been. But I mean, very interesting. Very fun.
Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat. I understand this is a complete role reversal that Cena had to just lay there for Punk's pipe bomb. But man, with Cena seated right there in front of Punk and Punk having to lie here for as long as he had selling this table spot, dude, I thought this guy could not look more just ridiculous.
What was better at least about the pipe bomb itself was that like Punk was all the way up at the stage and the camera was focused on Punk, right? We know why you had Punk in the shot, because they wanted the fucking Slim Jim logo in across the entire thing. But as a result, you're exposing how ridiculous the scenario is of Punk.
Listen, they looked so impotent.
They did do the two belt shots ahead of it. I think that might be their justification, but still, it looked ridiculous, And the whole thing is ridiculous anyway. This is a recreation of what at that point might have felt like a bit more of an organic
one of the most famous segments of WWE of the last easily 15 years, and yeah. Then we went to, I don't know, like a drama school recreation of this moment. So Cena, he's going like verbatim here, even stating that you lay there, hopefully as uncomfortably as you possibly can, the exact same way Punk started his promo, which they do note was, it was June 27th, 2011. So Tessitore even mentioned this is the week this happened 14 years ago. But Cena customizes it for his own promo. Before I leave here in 6 months with the WWE Championship, I have a whole lot of stuff I have to get off my chest. Punk, I don't hate you or even dislike you. I like you. I hate the idea of you being the best in the world. I'm feeling a bit better right now because I'm feeling ways closer in sync with me as we go through this.
You don't know that.
I don't know that. I don't know this at all. He says, I'm the greatest of all time. You're better than me at one thing. You're the best bullshitter in the world. And no one popped for this line of Cena swearing harder than John Cena himself, who had to sell the shock of him swearing as the rest of this audience was just waiting for him to continue. He then references Stu, the cameraman. Look, I'm breaking the fourth wall, as I was breaking into laughter at this point. Truth is, I'm jealous of Punk because he's conned all these people into thinking he's the best in the world. And after they let bullshitter get through, they censored goddamn, as he used that line. He says that you change your values as much as I change my t-shirts. You're a loudmouth opportunist, which sounds like a great t-shirt idea right there. A loudmouth opportunist. Then he waves into the camera to Claudio Castagnoli, Nick Nemeth, and Matt Cardona.
He even starts laughing.
Oh my God, dude. This was just, I mean, let's just continue here. Cena is the one that gave Punk the stage for his pipe bomb. And what have you done since? Sorry, I haven't gone through this since I typed these notes an hour ago. You've regurgitated the same 5 microphone moves of doom. You're a millionaire, not the voice of the voiceless. You're not a punk, but a capitalist. You're not against TKO. You are Mr. TKO. Your tweets are strong.
So he had a line following this that says, they knocked your balls technically off your body.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even write that one down. But yes, that was
What was that in reference to? They knocked your balls technically off your body. Like, I was just wondering if he was referencing Punk's UFC career.
How do you get
technical KO?
Okay.
TKO, I guess. Although I guess that doesn't have to do with the UFC. But like, if we're talking about who is the most sort of like Mr. TKO, like who has had history with like both brands? I mean, it'd be Brock and then it'd be Punk. Anyway, that is probably not.
Well, he was Mr. Unanimous Decision loss at against Mike Jackson as well. He did go the distance in one. Fight.
Okay, that was a unanimous decision. Never mind, doesn't work. Yeah, I guess
TKO, Mickey Gall it does.
Knocked your balls technically is just, I guess they're his play on words. Yeah. Okay.
He says your tweets are strong, but your actions are wrong. You're gonna have to face some loud music in Saudi Arabia. I've been the greatest for the last 25 years. And at this point, the crowd starts chanting Cena. He says, Punk, you were the best for 7 minutes 14 years ago, in reference to the pipe bomb. If you're still delusional to think you're the best after Night of Champions, well, it's a small world after all. You're welcome, Grand Rapids, and they all cheer John Cena at this. And he tells Punk to bring your A game because, as you can tell from this arena, the mood is starting to change. As Daphne LaShawn comes in after this guy's been dead for 10 minutes to check on him, see if he's still alive or still awake. As Cena says, "Don't worry, I'm not."
She was also there to give him the airtime cues.
Punk the cues or Cena?
No, Cena.
Okay, because Punk didn't have much to do here. He literally had nothing to do but lie here. So Cena, who it turned out had plenty of time left, says he hoists up the belt, gets even more cheers, and then, because he can't even fill anything more here, he says, "Hey, USA, you can keep the 2.5 minutes. I don't need a bomb." And then, channeling suffering succotash,
Elvis has left the motherfudging building.
Elvis has left the motherfudging business. And then thanks Punk for letting him rip off his promo to make him look even more foolish. At the end of this program, the only thing I can say is that if their design is not to turn CM Punk, then I don't know what we are doing here at this point. What they have done to this CM Punk character in this amazing 2-week period is utterly astounding. And by the end of this, it is the audience that is now, at least from this instance tonight, we're behind Cena, and Punk could not have looked more impotent in this role, laying here as his promo is just like garbled through John Cena's 2025 lens and heel character. I thought this segment was atrociously bad, but I don't want to sway you, Wai.
You're not. I mean, okay, how are you grading like your?
I'm not even talking about did the promo flow? Was it entertaining? What was the purpose of this at the end of this? Was it for CM Punk to be this beloved babyface going after the heel to bring and rescue this title back to WWE? Because then this was an utter failure of a segment to have these two entrenched in their roles, the yin and the yang. And by the end of this, you felt like Punk better have the goddamn greatest promo of his life on Monday to somehow come out of this hole, because this has gone from, this is a guy who has compromised his morals to go to Saudi Arabia, which is the overall underlying theme of this, and is everything that John Cena has said is that this guy is now, he's a millionaire now. He's Mr. TKO. He is the capitalist. And that's kind of how this is all being positioned. Like, none of these are necessarily lies. Like, he is the company man now going into Night of Champions. And I just thought you have taken, like, by the end of this way, my thought was, would this have been the worst idea that back at Elimination Chamber, we went with Punk to turn heel and join Dwayne Johnson so that he could get that Mania main event? And you'd have Cena trying to chase for his title throughout the year. I don't know. I thought this was awful. And I feel by the end of this, you've turned Cena, and it feels like Punk just does not feel anywhere where this guy was.
Okay, so you asked what was the point of this segment, John?
Yes.
To promote their match at Night of Champions, to get interest in their match at Night of Champions.
I think this match, I am not looking forward to this at all, just because of, I am not interested in seeing any John Cena wrestling matches right now.
Because of this promo?
Not because of this promo. It was because
You're
of the
not
5
interested
minutes that
because of the
preceded
wrestling.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, I am not.
So there's nothing they could have said to get you interested.
No, not really.
Okay. So then I don't know if they're playing to you anyway. The point of
Are you really excited to see Punk going for this title to win it back?
Am I excited to
Are you
see
excited
him
about
win?
the outcome of this match? Like, what is at stake here?
Am I excited to see CM Punk win the championship? I'm excited to see what a match between these two looks like, but that's I think even maybe beyond the point here. Like, we're talking about the segment itself, right? And okay, so the point of it is, I thought it was a clever idea. Okay, like, we are doing CM Punk versus John Cena again in 2025. We happen to have R-Truth, who happened to be in the match that was that preceded the original pipe bomb. Let's do a reverse pipe bomb. Let's do the whole thing in reverse with a promo in reverse. I thought it was a clever idea, and whether or not like it was like a successful pipe bomb, I don't sense it was supposed to be risque or controversial. I sense it was the John Cena character mocking the what was at one time supposed to be a risque and controversial promo by I don't know, playing the hits, so to speak. And I would even suggest like maybe doing like almost like a farcical job of it to mock his opponent. So all of that I thought was effective. I like the idea in that, just simply having.
Was this
happen.
designed to get a negative reaction for Cena? Do you think that was the goal of this segment?
There's nothing they could do to avoid the crowd from cheering the legend that is like performing in their town the last time. That's just a given. that's going to happen.
Wait a minute. Then we're talking about this entire run of Cena it being ill-fated. If that's your
so
belief.
I also don't necessarily sense whether or not a story is successful should be whether or not this person is getting booed or this person is getting cheered. You deem whether or not a storyline is successful by whether or not people are paying tickets to go see it, and they are. So that alone, I think, is enough. Just like the original Cena run wasn't necessarily contingent on all the crowds cheering him. They were booing him when he was a babyface. But we still talk about a lot of those programs as if they were like successful money drawing programs, right? This is similar. Like in the end, I don't think they care so much about whether or not people are booing or cheering Cena as much as they just want people talking about it. And I thought this was in construction and a good idea to get people talking about it, to put attention onto the program heading into the Night of Champions.
I would just say is my biggest complaint that I have currently of that we talked about like years back, that one of the biggest struggles they had was booking baby faces. And one of the hallmarks of this turnaround for business has been having strong baby faces that the audience has really gotten behind. And you could argue the two biggest examples have been Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. And if you were to ask me, were Cody Rhodes and CM Punk more over on January 1st of this year versus today? I think both have diminished. And I thought tonight was, I think this whole Night of Champions build, I think everyone is underestimating how much it has compromised Punk to a not insignificant portion of the audience, because that has been the entire discussion. And I think this promo tonight, it only just emphasized those points and the audience like siding with the heel in this particular promo segment at the end of it. So I think you come out of it and it's just a diminished babyface in CM Punk is how I feel his character is at the moment.
Yeah, it's very possible. I have no idea what the reaction to CM Punk coming off of Night of Champions is going to be. It could be that like maybe this will tank their business and like people won't go, pay a ticket to see CM Punk or buy a CM Punk t-shirt after this. But I have my doubts about that because I've seen what a CM Punk fan is willing to endure. Okay, we've all been through this man's past 10 years, and we've seen the incredible, like I think awful reputational damage that we all thought this man would have suffered from, and we've seen him completely weather that and come out on the other side maybe more popular than ever. So there's just something very unique about CM Punk that I think makes him completely untouchable to any of this. He comes back next time to Grand Rapids, he's probably still going to get cheered like crazy.
Yeah, I think that he certainly needs something next week going into this that Monday did not provide when he was given a microphone to kind of like, that's the most we've sort of had of Punk to have his like promo time in all of this. Like this segment does need a response on Monday.
Oh yeah,
or next week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That was your Slim Jim main event.
Yeah, it was, man. They are just so heavy-handed with this Slim Jim thing that so it was not mentioned. Like you didn't have Tessa Torres say the line, "Oh, he really snapped him into a Slim Jim table." Like he at least didn't do that because they knew they were going to get the stupid logo on camera for like 20 minutes, in this promo. But man, they're just so heavy-handed with it that it's just, at this point, every Friday you could expect one table break through the Slim Jim table. It just completely like, takes the soul out of, like, not to say like it's a table break. What how much soul does it have? But it's
like imagine we were tasked with, okay, we want you to redo the pipe bomb segment. Like, to me, it's just such a given that it would be, well, you've got to do it cross-legged at the top of the ramp. Like, isn't that just...
The problem is John Cena can't sit cross-legged.
That's a great point that I also did think about in this whole thing, was the fact that this guy probably cannot sit cross-legged. And
100%.
And I don't say that sarcastically.
He 100% can't sit cross-legged. Probably never could have, even in his best shape. I mean, a lot of people don't have that hip flexibility.
What are we talking about here? This guy has to wrestle for another 6 months.
Well, yeah, a lot of people can't sit.
The guy can't sit.
That's not... You could wrestle without sitting cross-legged.
dude, this guy is so limited in what he can do. God bless him that he is doing out this year. But my God, when this guy, everyone has been asking, is like, do you think this will be his last match at the end of the year? I 100% believe this will be this man's last match. I think his last match was probably ideally several years ago at this point. If you need this R-Truth match to relive, I think that's everything you want to know about an impromptu match that was added to the schedule.
This was a match that probably never was supposed to be a match on his calendar.
No, it was, someone pointed out that, hey, this is how the pipe bomb was constructed. Boom, we've got our out for the show. We'll do 5 minutes of quote unquote wrestling, and then we'll do 15 minutes of the Slim Jim the pipe bomb sponsored by Slim Jim. I mean, just an absolutely corporatization of this segment in WWE's history.
Yeah, totally.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So there you have it, everyone. That was SmackDown. I would say I really, really enjoyed that Sami Zayn Randy Orton match. I absolutely hated the final half hour of this show.
I loved the discussion coming off of the final part of the show. I mean,
I was excited that I had someone to talk to about this afterwards, because I honestly I didn't know if this was going to be one of yours. Like this took the pipe bomb and then grew it into legendary levels.
I don't know if I could feel that way about anything attached to like, man, this Slim Jim, corporatization of Mark Shapiro. But
they think this thing's gonna go viral everywhere tomorrow. Like all these sites are gonna pick it up, and it's gonna be that Slim Jim logo.
Okay, they're not wrong, because I guarantee you tomorrow they're gonna be boasting about some sort of like YouTube hit, like record that this is going to set, and that's all well and good. But I don't know. Like I also like to gauge like how much like good word of mouth you might be attaching coming off of like a visual rather than just I have no idea. Maybe people, I don't know how people feel about this. I thought it was a good idea to do this, to get people talking about the match. It almost feels like a missed opportunity not to. This is the last time you're going to have CM Punk and John Cena before a CM Punk versus John Cena match. It almost makes too perfect sense to do this. So I'm kind of glad they did for that reason.
Yeah, I would be curious what was the desired result, if it was just to create a segment. This did not build up this match for me much, but I would say that I've just found this whole build to be a real puzzling one, that they have opted to go this direction with Punk and incorporating the Saudi Arabia stuff. I think you could have done this match and done a lot of this stuff and not done this with Punk. And you could be very right. Like, he has been Teflon throughout his career, and he has the defense mechanism of being a phenomenal promo, and that can get you out of a lot of awful booking too, as well.
Yeah.
All right. So how many matches do we have for Night of Champions now? We have
the
Cena and Punk,
semis,
the two finals.
And then we have Jacob Fatu and Solo.
Solo. Is that it? We only have the four. Dominic and AJ Styles has also been added, so that makes 5.
That's 5, yeah.
All right.
Possibly 6, I mean, given, I don't know, it's a Saudi show. Yeah, so those are the 5.
And we should remind people that because they're in Saudi Arabia next Friday, SmackDown is on at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Netflix. And
okay.
I guess we get it at 1 p.m. and those in the U.S. get it later that night. So we will actually be ahead of everybody.
Yeah. And just to check here, last year at Crown Jewel, they did 6 matches. So maybe we can expect 1 more.
That's what you get for $45 million. You get the extra match.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to say goodbye to everybody here on the free feed. We're going to take some feedback. Curious to hear people's thoughts of tonight's riveting edition of SmackDown, the Pipe Bomb edition itself. So goodbye to everyone. We're back. Collision Course coming up Saturday night with Kate from Montreal and John Cena. And then Wai and I are back Monday night going through Raw, the go-home edition before Night of Champions.
Well, we'll see in Punk say.
Maybe we'll hear from Mr. TKO himself. So there you have it. Have a great weekend, everyone. And now it's time to go to the forum.